Yes, that is correct. So then all they have to do is go to Blocksi.net, log in as a teacher, choose to sign in with Google, enter their credentials. They will come here, and then they need to click this button here for Google Classroom, and that will pull over all of their classes. Okay, great. Yep, so that's the best option for you guys to use then. So you would just come here and use your Google Classroom to roster there. Also, you will have your schedule that you can create for all of your classes. Let's see. So here, you can choose to have it on an automatic start. So however you schedule your classes, so I have my biology starting at 10 a.m. I can have that start automatically, or I can turn that off and I can go into my class and I can manually click the start button to manually start my class. So that's up to you how you want to do that. And then when you automatically start your class, depending on the duration of the class of the time that it's set up, the way that the class ends is once that, like, let's say I set my class for 10 o'clock to 10:50, at 10:50, it's going to release all of the students and the class will automatically end. Right here, if you click the edit button, this is also where you can change and control the different, the duration of your class. This is also where you can assign policies. So at the district level, there can be a default classroom policy set. That way, when the student logs into their device, the teacher starts the class, they're automatically getting filtered to a default classroom policy that is set. But the administrators can also build policies out and push them to you as the teacher so that you can pick up these policies here. You can pick up a bank of policies to use for your classes. So let's say of course you have the default policy on, but for this particular day, for example, you don't want them browsing on YouTube, you don't want them browsing on the web, you just want them locked down to G Suite. So your admins can build a G Suite only policy. You can click on that policy and it will take effect in real time. So they will be blocked from everything else. They'll only be able to access G Suite only for your class session for that day. So there's different policies that you can choose from there. If you will notice, I am student 003 on my Chromebook right now. And this is showing a feature that I am in another class. So let's say that I'm technically in math class right now and math class has not ended, but I leave math class early to come to this biology class. So my biology teacher needs to see my screen. They need to control what I'm doing. So all they have to do is click here and it hijacks the student from the math class and brings them in to this biology class. So if your schedules, get off somehow, a snow day or whatever the case is, if you have a student that you need to see their screen, so they're physically in front of you, or you're using the video conferencing and they're physically in front of you that way, but you can't see their screen because they're stuck in somebody else's class, you will be able to pull them into the class as needed. So just know that that feature is there. So what you're seeing here is all of the students. So of course, if there were other students online in this class and it wasn't just me, you would see all of those screens here. On my screen, you're going to see, I'm going to start scrolling. So you're going to start seeing the changes in the activity on my Chromebook. I'm going to go to a different tab. So it's less than like a 1.5 second update in this tile view here. You also see all of the tabs that I have open here. When you hover over those tabs, you get 4 options. You can choose to go to it. So if I don't know what that tab is, I can open it up and see exactly exactly what they're on and I see that they're on target. So I can do that. I can also hover over it and close it out. So if they shouldn't be on target, I can close that tab out and it shuts down that tab immediately. I also have the ability to add it on the fly to a block or allow list. So if you notice up here, here is a block and allow. This is going to be where you build your own custom block and allow list. So if I click on the block here, I can add as many URLs to my block list that I want to block. I can do the same thing with allow and allow specific URLs. And then, as I just showed you, you can do that, like if there's something that they're on Instagram, for instance, and I didn't think to add that to my block list and they got through to Instagram, all I have to do is hover over that, hit to block list. You can see that it was immediately added to the block list. So now Instagram shows access denied when they try to go to access, or excuse me, when they try to go to Instagram. Okay. For your list here, make sure that if you like this list and you want to use this list in your the next day in this same class, or if you want to use it for other class sessions, that you save it by clicking this little disc here. You save the list, and then when you start this same class the next day, or you start your next class session, all you have to do is come here and click Load List, the folder right here, and it will auto-populate your block and allow list. That way you don't have to remember all the URLs and you don't have to type them again and again. If you don't save your list, the next time you go into this class and start this class, it will be a blank canvas. So if you like something, make sure you save it here. Okay. You also, the features that I'm going to show you right here can be done at a class level. So everything of the functionality will be done to the entire class. You can create groups by clicking this little group icon, and you would just create new. And I already have designated groups. I have my reading group, my math group, my history group. So you would just give it a name and then add the students that need to be in that specific group. So that way you can do these functions to specific groups instead of the entire class. And the third way, you can do all of these functions to an individual student. So underneath each individual student's tile will be all of these functions. If you hover over the little icons there, it tells you what the function is so that you can do that to just the individual. As well, if you click on the student tile here, just as you can give the class a policy, you can also give an individual student a policy. So let's say that student 003 here missed testing day. So I can go down and assign a test policy to just student 003 while the rest of the class is on a different policy. So you can do that to the individual as well. When you click that student's tile and you get a bigger view here, you can also hit this play button to do a live student stream. So that way you as the teacher are seeing a more real-time view of what that child is doing. It's just you and the students. When they share their screen there, you can click this cross, this little X cross here. It'll make the screen bigger. And now you can see more live. You can see where the mouse is moving. You can see the kid clicking on different tabs. So this just gives you a more real-time view of that student to help you, like if they need help navigating through something, this is going to give you, you know, a better environment to do that. You can also message the student. So you can say, click on second tab. Once you do that, the student will get the message there on their Chromebook, and then they can message you back. You can also share and enforce content. So if you're trying to help navigate or help the student navigate, you can do that as well. Okay. At the same time, when you click on the towel, you'll see here all of the timestamps, and you'll see the specific URLs that they have went to during your class. You'll see if it was blocked or if it was allowed, and you'll see what time they went there to access that. You'll see all of the tabs. If a student leaves your class, like in the middle of the year, and they no longer need to be in your class, this is where you can dismiss the class or student from the class. That way, when you start your class the next day, they will not show up in the class. Okay. The feature here, heads up, this is going to be like a lockdown browser. You just enter the time that you want the students to be locked down. And they will get this green heads up screen. So on their device, they're not going to be able to go anywhere. They can't open anything. They can't do anything on their device. They are locked down to this screen. So this is good if you need to make an announcement or give a lecture, or if they're getting rowdy and you need them to settle down, you can use this heads up button. It will close down all of the tabs that they had open previously. As soon as that heads up, the time that you entered elapses or you cancel the heads up, all of their tabs of their previous work that they had open will be restored, so they don't lose anything that they were previously working on. You also have the share and enforce button. You can share as many URLs or enforce them to those specific URLs. So if I put in an article here that I want to share, what it's going to do is push out that article in real time. So it opens up and pushes out the article, but it also keeps their tabs open and they can open other tabs. So this is, you want to use the share page when it's something that you want them to reference while they're working on what they're working on, or something that you want them to get to when they finish up working on whatever it is they're working on. You can use the share functionality for that. If you want them to be locked down to something specifically, that's when you use the enforce page. And again, you can push out as many URLs at one time that you would like to. You, for the enforce, you just enter the time you want them to be restricted to that page. So I pushed out and enforced IXL. So all of their other tabs closed immediately, and it pushed out IXL. So on my Chromebook as the student, I'm going to open up another tab and try to go to Amazon, for instance. And I know this is tiny writing, but the message that the student gets on their Chromebook is just that one URL that they're allowed to visit, because that's the one URL I enforced and restricted them to. So during that time that they're enforced to those URLs, they will not be able to go anywhere else. Same goes, once the time elapses that you entered or you stop the enforce, everything that they had opened previously will be restored. You can message the students as well. Again, same goes for, you can message the entire class, you can message in groups, or you can message the individual. They will receive the message at the bottom right-hand corner of their device, and then they can message the teacher back. Once they message the teacher back, you'll get this blinking bubble here, this icon, and you can click on that and see that student 003 said no. And then you'll have all of your students, so you'll see if they respond, and this is where you can continue to engage with your students. We also have assessment mode. So this is going to be a secure testing environment for your students. We have different assessment modes already presets that are populated here. So if you're using, Google Classroom or Google Forms, Nearpod, Schoology, different ones that are, popular that a lot of school districts are using, we have those here. So for instance, with Google Forms, you would just create a Google form. You would copy that URL, paste that URL here into Blocksi and confirm, and it would push that Google form out to the students and lock them to that Google form. They wouldn't be able to open up any tabs and find the answers or go anywhere else. They would just be on that Google form, for instance. We also have different web apps here. So, you know, some of the popular ones like Edulastic, Google Sheets, Google Docs, Edgenuity, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, different little presets here where you just have to copy and paste the URL. If you use a third-party LMS that is not listed already as a preset on one of these, you can create your own environment. So if I use Illuminate as an example here, what I would do is I would, on the left-hand side under enforced URLs, I would put the entire URL there. On the right-hand side, I would whitelist the domain. So the domain name in this example is Illuminate. So I would put an asterisk before and after the domain name, and then I would confirm that and push it out. So what it's going to do is it's going to close all of the other tabs, just push out Illuminate for that student to be on at that time. The reason that you put it in this way for the you put in the assessments is because when you URL here and then you whitelist it, what that's doing on the back end is all those embedded URLs that are in that entire environment are being allowed. So meaning that when you push out Illuminate, any content, any links that are in that environment, any videos, anything within that entire site, the kids will have access to. They can click on different tabs, click on those links, click on those videos, and they won't have any errors of access denied or anything blocked. So this allows them to move throughout that entire environment. With the share and enforce, the big difference there is you're sending out, when you use the share and enforce link, that is when you're specifically pushing out a URL. For instance, if you want them to see an article out of National Geographic, or if you want them to see a page off of CNN, or whatever the case is, you're pushing out that URL specifically. All the other links and tabs within that, if there's an article and it has a hyperlink for them to click on and it redirects them somewhere else, that could be access denied based on the filtering policy. So that will only allow them to see that specific URL. But if you use this assessment mode, you could even put CNN in here, for instance, CNN.com, and then I could whitelist CNN, and that way they can go throughout the entire website of CNN. They can click on any articles, any links, any content, any videos, and they'll have access to it. So that is what the main deal is for assessment mode. Most all of your assessments and quizzes are going to be found here in the presets, so it'll auto-populate for you. If not, again, you can create your own environments here. If it's something that you use often, you can save your preset. So if I use Illuminate and CNN often, I can save that as a preset, and then the next time I open up this class and open up assessment for any class, I will see here under custom presets what I've saved. When you do that, like if I click my test custom policy, the one I use for test is Nearpod and Illuminate. So you saw that it automatically entered Nearpod and Illuminate for me. This is just a way to make it easier for you so you don't have to remember what exactly it is you're supposed to type. You don't have to type it every single time. You can just save it to your presets and it will automatically populate for you. Then you have your admin presets. So at the admin district level, they can create presets for you. So if they do that, then they will show up here in all of your assessments. And that's the same case where if I click on Edgenuity, it's going to auto-populate for me based on what the admins have shared with you. All right. The teacher can also share, you can share your entire screen with your students. You can share an application window, or you can share a specific Chrome tab. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen with my student 003. And so now student 003 is seeing what is on my screen. So of course, whoops. Of course, because I have the teacher dashboard open, that's what's showing on student 003 screen. Once you share your screen with your students, they are locked down to your screen. So they cannot exit out of it. They cannot do anything. They are locked into what you're sharing. So if you're going over a PowerPoint, they're seeing all of that in real time. If you're showing them how to navigate through something, whatever the case is, they're going to see exactly what's going on your screen during that time. With the same token, you can, there's a function here, this last little video function, where you can pick a student to share that student screen with the rest of the class. Once you do that, the student will share their screen, and it will go to all of the student screen that are in that class at the time. So that way, you know, if like Johnny did a problem really well and you want Johnny to show the rest of the class how he did it, you can use this tool to have Johnny share his screen with the rest of the class. All right, for our video conferencing, when you hit this button here, you have it where you can record any of your conference sessions. If you want to record your class sessions, you'll just check this box here. And then you'll see two options. You'll see dominant speaker layout and tile layout. So first, I'll show you dominant speaker layout. What dominant speaker layout does is this is between the student and the teacher. So the teacher will not see all the students at one time. They will have, if you click this arrow here, you will see all the students in your class, and you can switch back and forth between those students. So if I click on student 010 and 010 was in my class and then shared the webcam, I'd be able to see that student. So you can easily go and switch between your students, but you only see them one at a time. On the students screen, it pops up as a small window at the bottom right-hand corner as a conference, and they will have these tools here. So it will show you as the teacher, they'll be able to see you, and then they will have their audio and webcam tools. By default, those are red and they are disabled, so they must click this. So if it's red, it'll be red like this. They must go in and click on that webcam to show their webcam. So the students do have to opt in and agree to show their webcam per student privacy laws. So if you can't see them and you want to see them, you'll need to tell them to make sure that this is green to share. They also have an option to raise their hand. So you can see on the towel here that the student is muted and they're raising their hand because they have a question or they'd like to speak. So it's letting you know that this student would like to speak. The student is seeing a live view like I am seeing here of the student on my teacher dashboard. They are seeing the same live view. What you're seeing this pixelated view is because, remember at the beginning, I told you that this is a 1.5-second update. So that's why that looks, you know, pixelated there. But the great thing about this is when I go somewhere else on my Chromebook, you're able to see what I'm doing on my Chromebook. And then you're also able to see that it is in fact that student. So let's say you push out a test and the student is currently, you can see that the student is working on the test. You can also see that it is in fact student 003. So it's not mom or dad or older brother or older sister taking the test. It is in fact that student. You also have the controls where you can mute everyone. You can have everyone unmuted. Each individual will have their own audio functions here for you as the teacher. So that way you can mute and unmute individual students as you see fit. This is going to be the dominant speaker layout. Now I'm going to show you the tile layout. Okay, so with the tile layout, the teacher will be seen, so you can see the view here. You'll see the student right here, student 003, me on my Chromebook. When you have a full class and more students are in the class, it'll be like if you're using Zoom or Google Meets or any other conference tool where it shows every square, every tile of every single student in that class on one window here. So in actuality, what it will look like is this. When you have a class of all of your students, you will see all of your students on one window like this. But because there's only me in the class, you're only seeing this one tile here. Same goes in tile mode, where you have, of course, your audio and video functions, so you can turn off your audio, you can turn it on, you can turn off your webcam, you can turn it on. You can mute everyone. So, of course, you can keep it open where it's like a virtual class, everybody's talking, and everybody can be heard. The students are able to see their peers in tile mode, so everyone can see everybody. They can see you as the teacher, and you can see all of the students. So you can have it where it's not muted, or you can mute all, and each tile will have their individual audio functions here. So you know, if you ask a question and only want a few students to answer, you can mute everybody and just open up those few students to answer. Or if you just want one student to answer or talk at a time, you can control all of the audio functions there. In tile mode, same thing, the student has the ability to raise their hand. So if they're muted, it shows you as the teacher that they're raising their hand and they have a question. You can share your screen during the video conference, and you also will see if they go to something from the student view, they are in the tile mode, they get a full screen of what's going on. But just as I did here, I minimized the screen and I'm working on something else so you can see the activity going on. But the conference is still there, so I can pull up the conference, I can pull that back at any point. And see the conference. I can also resize it so that it's just a small window that I can keep at the bottom right-hand corner of my Chromebook and continue to work while continuing to see the conference as well. So that's the view from the students. You as the teacher will be able to see anything that they're on, and then you will have a window here that shows all of your students. That way, again, if they're taking a test, you can see what they're doing, if they're actually taking the test, and you can confirm and verify that it is, in fact, that student. So I can see that student 003, it is the correct student, and they are working on what they should be working on, for instance. So it keeps them on task. The students don't have to do anything to be in the conference. Once you hit conference, it's going to automatically pop up on their device. The only thing they have to do is turn their webcam on to be seen. If they don't turn their webcam on, then you cannot see them, but they will still be able to see you. And if it's tile mode, they'll be able to see their peers. So there's no like external link that you have to send for them to join a conference. They don't have to log in somewhere. It's an automatic thing right here from your dashboard. So not only are you able to physically see the students, you're still able to also manage your students here and control what they're doing, and control what you're pushing out and sharing and assessments and all of this in one platform here. If you need to retrieve your class session, you would go back to your main teacher dashboard by clicking up here at the top on Blocksi Teacher Dashboard. It will take you back to your class pad here. Conference recording is going to do all the conference recordings for every class that you've done a session in, so you can view it that way. Or if you just want to pull like a biology recorded session, each class will have the recordings for that class specifically listed underneath the tiles here. So if I click recordings, this will be all of my biology recordings. And this is where you can download and save to your computer. All right, just a few more things. We've covered almost everything, and then I will open it up for the questions. The other thing is that you're going to get insights into your class, and it's going to be per class session. So if you click this insights button here, you're going to get all of the analytics that went on in your class. You'll see all of the popular websites they went to. Of course, you can click on it and it will take you to the exact site that they viewed that's listed there. You can see how many times they visited that site. So you'll see how many times they went there, if it was allowed, if it was blocked. You'll get this pie chart here that's going to break down where most of the time was being spent in your class, if it was on education, shopping, gaming, sports, that type of thing. You'll also see if they installed any apps or extensions in your class. You'll have that reporting. You'll have the average time that was spent on each of the websites that they visited. You'll have all of your students over here to the right. You can click on one student. So if I click on student 003, I can get just their information. I can also filter through my data. If I click this magnifying glass, this is another way that you can look up for a specific user. You can do by action. So if you just want to see all of the blocked activity for your class, you can add your filters that way. You can do it by, class, location, by policy. So lots of different ways there to filter through your analytics to get exactly what you're looking for. You'll also see here the search engine queries. So anything that they typed into the search engine, you will get that reporting as well. If you click up here at the top left-hand corner under Web Analytics, you'll get this gray drop down. You're also going to get YouTube Analytics. So if the kids went to any videos during your class, you will see the videos that they visited or that they tried to visit. So if I click on this little play button here next to the title, it brings up the exact video that that student watched. So me as the teacher, I get to see what they viewed. There also be blocked videos here, which means that the students did not get through to that video, but it will show you as the teacher what video they tried to access. If you click back up on video analytics again at the top left corner and get this gray drop down, this is where you'll have your logs. So this is going to be your deeper reporting. This is going to show you the date, the timestamp, the user, the specific URL. It'll show you the category that the URL fell into, if it was allowed, if it was blocked, what policy was on at the time, and the location, if it was in school or out of school. And you can export this as a CSV file, or if you click back up here again on the top left, you will see that you can download as a PDF as well to keep these reports. Now, each of these analytics is per class session, but if you need to retrieve analytics from a previous session, if you go back to the main teacher dashboard class pad page here, you'll see this orange button for each of the classes, and with that is the class history. So if you click on that, you will see that you have all of your analytics stored for every single class that you've ran within Blocksi. So you can drill back and retrieve analytics for other classes. All right. And then just a few more things to let you know. There is the ability to create breakout rooms. Um, so this little group icon here, this is where you can do your different groups. And you have the ability, so my reading group, I can start a conference for just that group, or I can start all of my breakout rooms. If I start all of my breakout rooms, you'll see that my reading group breakout rooms here, my math group is here, and my history group is here. So they are all running a video, and me as the teacher, I can pop in to the reading group. So whoever's in the reading group, I can pop in as the teacher there. And then if I need to go to my math group, I'll disconnect. The reading group will still be going. Those kids will still be in their breakout room. But I'm going to check in on math, so I can pop in on the math group. And then disconnect. You cannot see all the groups at the same time, even though they will all be running at the same time. You can only physically be in one breakout at a time. But it's very easy for you to connect, so you can pop into one, very easily pop into the next one, so you can go back and forth that way. You also have where if you click the arrow, you'll see all the students that are in that specific breakout room. So you do have your breakout rooms that you can use. The other thing is this little camera button here. This is an individual function. So what this does is if you click this camera here, it's going to take a screenshot of what that student is on at the time and download immediately to your computer. So you can open that up and it will show what that student was on here, and this is something that you can save for like parent-teacher conferences or for your records. You'll have the screenshot ability to do that from your teacher dashboard. And lastly is the co-teacher. Under this teacher functionality here, you can add a second teacher. We are updating this. I don't have an exact ETA for you yet, but soon you will be able to add multiple teachers here, and you can choose if they have primary functions or if it's just monitoring abilities. But as of right now, today, you can only add a co-teacher, so one other teacher, and that is for them to help monitor the students only. All right, I know I threw a lot out at you, so that pretty much covers it from start to finish. So I'm going to go over to the questions and go over those. Chris, if you need to ask any questions aloud or need me to unmute anybody, just feel free to interrupt me and let me know. Okay. So from Megan Ford, so we should create our Google Classrooms first before using Blocksi. So yes, if you want to use, I think it was mentioned at the beginning that the way they were going to encourage you to use your Google Classrooms to sync it through Blocksi. So you would set up your classes in Google Classroom and then come here into Blocksi. If I go back to my main teacher dashboard page, once you set your classes up in Google Classroom, you would just click this button here and it would import all those classes that you set up into Blocksi automatically. All right, Zach Brown said, will CO be creating policies for us? Can we edit, create our own? That is a question for your administrators or instructional coaches. If they're going to be creating policies for you to use or not, it's up to them. And it's also their, by default, you as a teacher cannot create policies. There is an option if your admin should choose to allow you to create policies where they can open that up and you can create policies. So you'll have to check with your administration on that back. All right, Sherry asks, if students are using their own devices, Are we able to use the same features? Yes, as long as they're logged on through their Google account. That is correct. So if they're using their own device, as long as they're logged in through their school Google account and their ID, all of these operations will be functional for them and you. Rob Weber said, can you cancel multiple students at the same time? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that question. You can dismiss students, multiple students at the same time, but I'm not exactly sure what you mean by cancel. Let me see, Rob, if I can find you to clarify. Okay, Rob, I have unmuted you if you want to unmute yourself and clarify.
No, earlier I remember right. I thought you used the term "canceled" a student, like you I guess put them in timeout, so to speak, so they couldn't use their Chromebook for like 5 minutes or whatever time you allotted.
Oh yeah, for the heads up feature there.
I thought you called it canceled. Sorry.
No, that's fine. The heads up, so you can, once you put that in here, you can go down to the individual and cancel it. So I could just cancel this student, or I could, like you said, cancel multiple students at the same time while having some others still in a block mode. So you could do that to the entire class. You can do it by groups, or you can do it for the individuals.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay. Next question is from Kristen. Using the assessment mode, if you pushed out a Google form that has a YouTube video embedded, would you have to enter that specific URL for the video in this enforced URLs? You shouldn't if you've whitelisted the Google form, but that is a little tricky since it's a little different. The Google form is not an entire site. So I would say the safe bet would be to also enter that video URL. So when you set up that assessment, you would push out, let's see if I have, you would push out your Google Forms, and then you would just add the fields and then type in whatever the specific URL. So you wouldn't just put youtube.com and it would open up everything, but you would take the specific link and put that in enforced URLs, and then just the domain. So what comes after the dot here and before the .com, you would just whitelist it. So you would put asterisk that domain for the video and then close it with an asterisk and push those both out at the same time. And that would ensure that they would have both access to the Google form and that YouTube link. Okay. Rob asked also, do students need to add Blocksi to Chromebooks? No, they do not. They're automatically enrolled. It's at the district level through the Google Admin Console. The extension is pushed through the student and they're assigned a license. So all the student has to do is log into their device using their student Google account, and they're automatically enrolled. They also don't get any type of notification that Blocksi is going on. They're just going to open up their device and use it as normal. The only time they will know something's going on is when you start pushing out commands like a heads up or enforcing things or shutting down their tabs, but they don't need to do anything else. All right, next question from Zach. If you have a conference using video conference, do they automatically record the videos of the kids as well? So it's going to record if you choose. You have to go in, and once you start your conference, you have to select this checkbox to record. It will record the entire session, so it will record, like if you see the kids here, it will show the kids as well. But make sure you check that box, because if you don't, then it will not record that session. Okay. Luke asks, can students see each other in breakout rooms? Yes. In breakout rooms and in the tile mode, students can see each other. The only time that they cannot see each other is if you choose the dominant speaker layout. With the dominant speaker layout, that is just student to teacher, and where the student only sees the teacher and the teacher only sees the students one at a time. But with tile layout and breakout rooms, the students do see each other. Okay, Madeline, I had technical difficulties. Is there going to be some kind of handout or guide to follow to install this? So you shouldn't have to install anything. That's done at the admin level. But as far as gaining access, you just go to Blocksi.net, as I showed you before, and then you'll hit login and hit teacher and enter your credentials there. I will have a guide that I will send over to Chris, who can forward to the rest of you when I send the recording. I'll send also our teacher dashboard guide. It's a manual that walks through with screenshots from beginning to end, everything, and it has all of your instructions, so you can have that as a reference. You also, if you go to Blocksi.net, you will see here our toll-free number. So if you're having technical issues with it, you can call this number here, and you can get through to support staff, so somebody on our engineering that can help you with your technical issue. Or you can click this little help section here, and you can chat whatever your issue is. This will automatically, whenever you type in your technical issue, it'll generate a ticket to our support team, and somebody will get back to you with an answer to help you out. Okay, Kelly says, if a student is home, they go to Blocksi.net at a particular time. I'm not sure. I'm going to unmute you, Kelly, so that you can clarify for me what you're asking. Okay, you are unmuted if you're able to unmute yourself.
I was referring to like for a conference.
Oh, so the kids don't have to go to Blocksi.net. They don't have to do anything. For a conference,
Okay.
You initiate that from your teacher dashboard, and it automatically pops up on their Chromebook.
So as long as they have their device open, it'll just pop up.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next question from Luke. Does Google Classroom sync automatically, or do we need to sync every time we get a new student? It syncs automatically. So it should do it within like an hour or so. If you don't see it that day, it definitely will the next day you come into use Blocksi. That would be like the longest amount of time it would take to sync automatically. So yes, it does sync automatically. Kelly is asking Luke, Luke, will Blocksi be on Clever? So Luke might have to get back to you on that. We do sync with Clever for rostering, but it's up to, I guess, Luke and Chris if you're going to be using Clever. I think he mentioned in the beginning it was going to be mainly Google Classroom, so you may just want to double check with him, Kelly. Also, will breakout rooms record them all or just the one you are currently in? You can record the whole sessions for the breakout rooms. It'll record every one. You can just you as the teacher can only be in one breakout room at a time, but you can go in and out of them very seamlessly, and it will record all of the breakout sessions. All right, Ava asks, can students be randomly assigned to breakout rooms, or does it just go by the students you have assigned to groups? It's by who you designate. So when you click this group button here, you would just go to create new. And when you do that, you give it a name, and then you add all of the students that you want to be in that group. So you go ahead and, you know, create those groups beforehand, or you can do it on the fly if you need to have a group assembled right then and there. You would just use this, give it a name, add those students, and then you can start your breakout room from there. All right, Madeline, can students be randomly assigned to, oh wait, sorry, that was the same question. Madeline said, thank you, you're very welcome. Rob, hypothetically, if we start all virtually, is Blocksi what we would use for class meetings in lieu of Zoom? So again, that will be up to Chris or Luke to let you guys know if we will, I mean, technically we could be a replacement where you would just have one management piece for this, but you know, that's totally up to your administration, so I'll let them answer that. Megan said, is Blocksi free or can any district use this program? So we are not free, but you know, Foxy 6 has purchased Blocksi, so that's why you have access to this program. We are eligible for the CARES Act funding. There's lots of different ways for funding that we qualify for, but any district could use our program. They just, you know, will have to pay for it. Sherry asked, is there any way students are able to uninstall Blocksi after they have logged on? No, that is handled at the district level with the Google admin. The only 3 ways that they can circumvent Blocksi is made sure to be disabled at the very beginning of the setup. So there's no way that they can uninstall Blocksi. Okay, that seems to be all of the questions that I had in the questions box. So thank you very much for your time. Chris, I know, you know, we're getting to the top of the hour here. Is there anything else you wanted to add or say or ask before we go? Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for your time. I will definitely make sure to get this recording over to you when it's finished downloading, as well as resources that will help you along the way with using the teacher dashboard. Thanks again, and everyone stay safe out there. Bye-bye.